Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be here chit-chatting about tarot with you tonight. So welcome to my free workshop on how to read tarot for yourself. So I'll give you a moment to introduce yourself in the chat room if you would like to, and let me know where you're from. I see DP Paulson is here. Dawn, Music 1AC. Oh, great. You got your own party started with your own reading. That's awesome. Hello, Sandra from Toronto. All right. I'm just realizing my lighting is a little weird. I'm sitting in my office and the sun is just going down. So I'm gonna have some weird lighting happening. All right. Yay, I'm so excited you guys are all here, excited to learn lots about tarot. So before we get started, I'll give you just a brief overview of what we're going to be covering, and then I'll get right into the lesson portion. So I'm gearing up to run my 4-week course, which is called Reading Tarot for Others, and that course starts on Wednesday, but registration closes on Monday. And so that basically starts next week. And that whole course is all about how to read tarot for other people and the skill set involved. But this workshop that we're going to be doing right now is kind of the opposite of that. It's how to read tarot for yourself. And one question that I get asked all the time, usually from people who are new to tarot, is, can I read tarot on myself? And the answer is yes, absolutely. And I always wonder when people ask that, how they expect to learn tarot if they can only read for other people. Because when I was learning tarot, I did pretty much all the readings I did were for myself, and I did a few for friends and family. But most of the learning that I've done have come through, reading tarot for myself. So I think the biggest concern with reading for yourself is, will you be able to remain objective? And we're going to be talking about that kind of towards the end of the lesson. So I'm going to be giving you some kind of tips and stuff like that on, how to stay objective. So, all right. So what we're going to be covering here is I'm going to begin by telling you the 3 steps or the 3 phases to giving yourself a reading. Then we're going to go through a really fun exercise that I'm excited about. Then we're going to do another exercise, and I'm going to teach you some specific tips and techniques for really going into a tarot card and deeply exploring it. And I'm going to teach you how to use your readings, how to use your self readings to create positive change in your life. And then we're going to talk about the 3 main blocks, the stumbling blocks to reading for yourself. And then it's Q&A after that. So I do have a PDF handout, and I may as well just post that handout now, so you don't have to wait to the end of the webinar or the lesson. Just out of curiosity, I don't know if it's my computer screen or not, but do I look blue to you? Like, does my face look blue? I'm just looking at myself on my computer and everything looks like a weird shade of blue. So I'm just curious if it's just my computer screen or what's going on. Okay. So I'm just going to post that handout. It's a PDF. All right. Oh, good. Okay. People are saying, no, I don't look blue. Okay. Thank God. Except Doris says, a little bit blue. I've noticed that a lot of videos look blue on my laptop, and I think it's just my particular laptop. All right. So the PDF handout that I've given you has a bunch of exercises, a spread, some lots of fun stuff to try out with your tarot cards. So, okay, where should I start? First of all, reading tarot for myself is something that I love. It's something I'm really, really passionate about. I have had some of the most profound experiences and shifts in my life through reading tarot for myself. And my whole philosophy is that we have the answers inside of us. And when you read for yourself, it's like you're using tarot as a tool to help you open that doorway into yourself, to find that wisdom and to find those answers. So I don't see tarot cards as this thing outside of ourselves that we're consulting, that is giving us the advice and the wisdom. That wisdom and that advice is within us, and we're using the tarot deck to mine that information, to mine that advice, and to uncover that wisdom that is already within us. And I kind of see the tarot cards as being like a doorway into your inner self. And it's a way to sort of connect with that deep, mystical, spiritual part of yourself. And I also see tarot as this really profound tool for self-exploration. And the tarot cards themselves are so rich with imagery and colors and symbols. And all of that stuff triggers and wakes up your right brain, which is sort of the intuitive, creative, artistic feeling side of the brain. And so those image-rich pictures, the symbols, the colors, all of that wakes up your right side of your brain and kind of primes the pump for connecting with yourself on a deeper level, your intuitive side. All right, so I'm just gonna look at the comments here. Nice. Okay. All right. So there's 3 steps to giving yourself a tarot reading. So the first phase is preparing for the reading. So this is what you do before the reading to kind of prepare yourself and get ready for the reading. So this would include, choosing a deck, maybe meditating, kind of getting settled, thinking of your question, just kind of getting set up for the reading. If there's any like space clearing that you need to do, that's all kind of the pre-reading stuff. And then the second phase to a reading is the reading itself. And so this is, the actual cards that come up, the techniques you use, the advice that you get from the cards. And then the third and final phase is what I call sort of the post-reading. It's what you do after the reading. So it's what you do with the information and the ideas that you get in the reading. Now, most people kind of focus on the middle part, the actual reading, and don't really think about the first phase or the last phase. Now, I actually think that what you do before the reading and what you do after is in some ways just as important, if not more important, than the reading itself, because you can do a fabulous reading and get all this really cool wisdom, advice, and ideas and inspiration. But if you don't do anything with that, if you don't do anything to take action on those ideas, then that reading isn't really going to be all that meaningful or impactful. And if you don't set up properly for the reading, if you don't take the time to focus and get in the right kind of frame of mind for the reading, it can lead to a reading that isn't all that grounded or, just not all that helpful. So let's begin with the first phase, preparing for a reading. I'm going to walk you through just a really quick little ritual to do before you start a reading. So I like to really kind of focus on relaxation, clearing my mind, clearing the space, and just kind of settling into myself before the reading. So find a place where you're going to be comfortable. I'm assuming you're watching this, so you're probably comfortable wherever you are. I like to have my spine upright, but it's not a big deal, just as long as you're comfy. And start by taking a deep breath in. And exhale, just letting go. And on your next exhale, you're going to think about just clearing your mind, clearing any kind of excess energy you have in your body, anything you're holding on to, just letting that go. So you're breathing in and just letting it go. And depending on what kind of a mood I'm in, sometimes I'll spend 1 minute doing this, and sometimes I'll need to spend, 10 minutes doing this, depending on how stressed out I am or how relaxed I am at any given moment. Okay, so just taking a couple of breaths here. And I like to do something to prepare my reading space. Now, you don't have to do this right now, but usually what I do is I'll kind of clear away any clutter. Sometimes I'll light a candle. Sometimes I'll put like my favorite crystal on my reading table. But sometimes I don't bother with any of this. It just depends on what my mood is. But it's nice to have this space kind of cleared a little bit. Now, what you're doing here is you're basically preparing to meet your inner being or your inner self. And I like to think of this as preparing for a date with a really important person. So again, taking a couple of deep breaths in and just let your body relax as much as you can. The more relaxed you are before doing a reading, the easier it will be for you to connect to your intuition. The easier it will be for you to connect with your cards, and your creative, intuitive side of your brain is going to be so much more active and accessible the more relaxed you are. So this is an important step. You want to get relaxed. All right. So hopefully you're adequately relaxed. You're prepared to meet your inner being, your inner wise spirit. And remember that you already have all the answers inside of you. You're a deep, wise spirit. And this reading is simply about discovering the wisdom that is already within you. Now, you might want to say a little affirmation here. So I'm going to give you an affirmation. And this affirmation, for me anyhow, has really helped me get rid of any confidence issues I have going into a reading. So the affirmation is, I have all the answers inside of me. This reading will help me discover what I need to know right now. Whatever insights I get are the right ones for me at this time. So if you just say that to yourself, let those words sink in. I'll say it one more time. I have all the answers inside of me. This reading will help me discover what I need to know right now. Whatever insights I get are the right ones for me at this time. I like this affirmation because sometimes we worry that we're not interpreting the cards correctly. But I feel like when I say this affirmation, any doubt or lack of confidence kind of melts away. All right, so we're ready to get into the reading portion. Now, there's so many different ways of exploring a tarot card, and I'm going to teach you a few different ones in this workshop. But first, we're going to do kind of a warm-up exercise. So this warm-up exercise, I'm going to have you read your environment, so your surroundings, like you would read a tarot card. So I want you to take a moment to look around the room you're in, or whatever space you're in. Have a look around. And I just want you to take it all in. And I want you to notice how your environment makes you feel right now. Just noticing how you feel in this particular room as you look around it. And I want you to also notice if there's a particular color that's standing out to you right now. So when I look around my own space right now, I'm in my home office, and my home office makes me feel, I don't know, it's a good feeling. I feel supported, I think, and I feel uplifted and happy in this space. I've got some houseplants. I like the color of the walls. And the color that I notice in my space is yellow because the walls are yellow. So you're just noticing the feeling you're getting and the color you're noticing. And what do you associate that color with? I associate the color yellow with being happy and being like awake and uplifted. Now I want you to notice, because everything in your environment is a symbol. People, inanimate objects, sunlight, moonlight, everything is a symbol. So I want you to notice what object or aspect of your space is your attention drawn to right now. And if you feel like sharing, you can do so in the chat room. So my attention immediately went to my mug of tea. This is a kind of a funky pottery mug that I bought a couple years ago. I bought it for my husband for Christmas, and he never drinks out of it because he's scared he'll break it. Now, once you have that symbol, what does that symbol mean to you? What do you feel that symbol symbolizes? So for me, this mug symbolizes a cup. It symbolizes a container. And it symbolizes like a womb, like something that holds space, something that contains things. This mug could be empty. Right now it's full of licorice tea. So you're just noticing what symbol you're drawn to. Does this symbol have a message for you? Does it somehow relate to your life in some way? So how I interpret my mug is that it's holding a space, and I feel like that's what I'm kind of doing right now for you guys, is I'm going to be holding a space here for you to explore your tarot deck in a new way, maybe even explore yourself in a new way. Pan, you noticed the green hot sauce bottle on your desk. That's cool. It's a spicy symbol. Nice. Okay. So that was just a warm-up exercise. Now we're going to do basically that, but with a tarot card. But I love that. I love that exercise of just looking at your environment and getting messages from the environment. I remember the first time I did this, I was at the beach and I was looking at the water, and the first thing I noticed was this flock of geese. And I was watching the geese, and I was noticing that they were on the surface of the water, and they were diving below the surface and getting seaweed. And then they were coming up onto the beach and waddling on the beach. And then they were taking flight into the air. And as a symbol, I was like, oh, this is amazing, because these geese dive down into the depths. They can walk on land, and they can traverse the airspace as well. And at the time, I was reading this book on shamanism, which talks about the three realms or the three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower. And so for me, that message was about continuing exploring that stuff, continuing reading that book. So yeah, it's really neat what kinds of messages we can get from our environment. So you don't even need your tarot cards with you. You can just look at your environment and get things from that. All right, so now we're going to actually read a tarot card. So you have two options here. I'm going to choose a card and I'm going to hold it up. So you can simply look at the card I'm holding up and do the exercise that way. Or if you have your own cards and you want to use your own deck, you can choose a card from your own deck as well. So whatever you feel called to do. So we're going to ask our deck a question. And the question is, what message does my inner being have for me? Okay, so I'm going to draw a card, and I'm choosing my favorite card. This card is from the Hesychos Tarot, and this is the Star. And yeah, good. Okay. So I want you to have a look at this card. Now, the first step is to simply notice how you feel when you look at this card. So when I first held this card up, what was your reaction? This is the first step to going within. It's noticing how you feel. So you may not actually use this in the reading, but the first thing you want to do is notice how you feel. What feeling is coming up for you? This is the first step inward. This is how we start to journey inside of ourselves. What color do you notice? What is your attention drawn to? And what does that color mean to you? And if you're not sure what the color means to you, how does that color make you feel when you look at it? If you picture yourself surrounded in that color, how does it make you feel? Yeah, I noticed the blue as well. A lot of people are saying blue, and blue to me is very calming. And someone said tranquil and healing. Yeah, tranquil, healing, peaceful. Yeah, and some people are noticing the red. I love it. Okay. So this is essentially the warm-up, basically. We're noticing how this card makes us feel on the inside. You know, we're noticing our response to this card. We're noticing the colors and what those colors represent. This is really just warming up. We're getting warmed up here. What we're doing here is we're feeling out the card, and we're using our feelings and our intuition to feel into the card. So notice I didn't immediately say the star means this, because I think that's what we're so conditioned to do. As soon as we turn over a card, we're like, oh, it's the star. That means hope and trust. What we're doing is we're looking at the imagery and we're feeling into the card rather than just immediately going to the name of the card. All right. So now notice what symbol you're drawn to on the card. What symbol do you notice first? Our inner self communicates to us through symbols. Think about dreams. Dreams are pure symbol. Dreams are basically just a whole bunch of symbols from our unconscious. So our unconscious loves symbols. Now, even though the symbols on this card aren't from your unconscious, you're going to be drawn to one of those symbols. So there's something that you're going to notice that you're going to pick out. And that's the symbol that has a meaning for you or a particular message. So what does the symbol that you noticed mean to you? Now, I know that many symbols, and one thing I want to point out is that everything or anything on this card can be a symbol. And symbols will often have a kind of conventional meaning. So if you were to look up this symbol in a symbol book, it would have a meaning, but you also have your own associations for each symbol. So pay attention to what your own association is here. And someone says they were drawn to her breasts, Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, her breasts are a powerful symbol. So notice what that symbol means to you. So I'll share with you what I notice. So my attention goes to the big orange rock down at the bottom here. And for some reason my camera is blurry and it's wanting to focus on my face. It's wanting to focus on my background and not this thing. Focus on this. Everything is crisp except for this card. Okay. So my attention goes to the rock. And for me, that rock symbolizes stability and just like predictability and physicality and strength. So the next question is, does the symbol that you noticed on the card, and if you're doing this on your own with your own deck, whatever symbol that is, does the symbol have any significance to your life right now? So for me, the rock has significance for me because I feel like it's reminding me to focus on cultivating stability and focus on cultivating almost like strength, solidity, predictability in my life. Because there's a lot of people around me that are struggling with that. And I feel like I can be a rock right now. I feel like I can be really stable and grounded right now. So that's the significance that this rock symbol has for me. And please feel free to share what symbol you chose and what it means to you. Yeah, I'm enjoying reading all the different stuff you guys are getting from this. All right. So let's have another look at this card. And if you chose your own card, have another look at that card. And I want you to notice what figure on the card are you most drawn to? And by figure, it could be anything, but I usually think of like a person, an animal, an insect, something that's living. But if there's no living things on your card, it could just be another symbol or an object. What figure or character are you drawn to? And I really wish the camera would. There we go. Okay. So the figure I'm drawn to is the woman on here. I don't think there's that little face in the star, which is interesting, but I'm really drawn to the woman. Now, what you can do here is you can have a dialogue in your head with this character. So if you could ask this character something, what would you ask her? Or if this character had something to tell you, what message does she have for you? What would she say to you? And this is where you just want to use your imagination. I think a lot of times we worry that if we use our imagination, we're just making something up. But this is how we access the subconscious or the unconscious. And this is how we start to wake up that right side, that intuitive side of the brain. So just create like a little conversation in your head. What would she say to you? Now keep in mind, the figure might not answer you right away, and instead your attention might be drawn to another symbol or another aspect of the card, and that is your answer. You want to focus on that. Yeah. Oh, I love all the things everyone's getting. Yeah, she's definitely comfortable with herself and her environment for sure. Yeah. Okay. So here's another prompt. Through this card, my inner self is trying to tell me. What is your inner self trying to tell you through this card? What message does she have for you? All right. So Nails by Angie says, release and let go. Things are getting easier now. They're starting to flow. Through this card, my intuition is telling me that I am the star for my mom. That's beautiful. Trust the process and your intuition. Let it flow. She's asking, Kate, why licorice tea? I love licorice tea. It's so sweet and delicious. Nice. Okay. So I love this way of just really sitting with a card and exploring it and letting your own creative unconscious kind of unfold. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about closing the reading. But before I do that, I want to ask you, what was that process like for you? Did you find it easy to connect with the essence of the card? Did you find it easy to kind of be creative there? Or was it a struggle for you? Because I know some people like to do a reading where they read with lots of cards, and to just read with one card is kind of painful for some people. So I'm curious to hear what that experience was like. Were you able to sink into yourself and quiet your mind, or did you find it frustrating to just use one card? All right. So Diane, you said it was a little bit of a struggle. Alex, you liked it and you found it easy. I feel like it's an exercise that gets easier the more often you do it, for sure. And the more relaxed you are. I think if you have an agenda, if there's like a specific topic you really need an answer to, sometimes it's hard to really relax and get into the flow of reading that way. Misty says, it was easy at first, but then I started thinking. Nice. Yeah. So some of you found it a struggle. Some of you found it easy. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about closing the reading. So once you're finished a reading and you've got the advice and the ideas from that reading, I feel like how you end the reading is almost as important as the reading itself. So I always like to close the reading by gathering my deck of cards. I hold them in my hands by my heart, and I just thank my deck, and I just say thank you. And I hold my deck for a moment. I express my gratitude, and then I put my deck off to the side. Sometimes I like to record my reading. So this would depend on how often you read for yourself. If you're an everyday reader, you maybe don't want to record every single reading you do. I don't read for myself that often, so when I do, I like to record it. So I write it down in my tarot journal. I like to draw it out with a pen and paper, but you can take a picture of your cards with your phone. There's many different ways you can record your reading. But I like to record my reading so I can go back and look at it later. Because sometimes if a reading doesn't really make a lot of sense, if I wait a couple weeks and go back to it, in retrospect, it will quite often make sense. I like to take notes on my readings, so I like to jot down the ideas that I have. Now, in the PDF thingy that I gave you guys, and I'm going to post it again for those who joined a little bit later. Okay, just posted it right now. In that PDF, there is a couple of worksheets, and one of the worksheets is basically a way to record your reading and to take notes. All right, so the next part I want to talk about is the importance of creating an action plan based on the wisdom and advice that you got from your reading. So this is how you can use your tarot readings to create positive change in your life. Now, whenever I do a reading, I always ask, okay, what action can I take from this guidance? What is there any particular action that's being recommended from this reading? Is there anything I can actually do and start to incorporate in my regular day-to-day life? And then I like to make a plan on how I'm going to do that. Now, I'll be honest, 80% of the time I don't do this. Now, I wish I did. I wish I took my own advice. Because when I take my own advice, when I record my reading, when I make a goals plan, when I make an action plan, that's when my readings actually have an impact on my life, and I can really use them to fuel positive change. Most of the time I think, oh, wow, that was a really great reading. That was really helpful. And then I kind of forget about it the next day. So I have to be honest, that's what I mostly do. But if you want to create change, positive change with your readings, this is what you're going to want to do. So not all the readings you do have to be amazing and life-changing. But the more you pay attention to the advice that you get from your cards, and the more you make a concerted effort to incorporate that advice and that guidance into your day-to-day life, the more impactful that reading is going to be. So I'm going to give you an example of what this might look like. So when I was looking at the star, I was noticing the rocks. And I said to you that, to me, that was like advice for me to really focus on cultivating stability and strength in my character and in my day-to-day life. So then I'd ask the question, what can I do to do that? So the things that help me feel stable and strong and solid are having a regular exercise practice, preferably yoga, to get outside every day, and to do a little bit of meditation every day, even if it's just 5 minutes. So then I would get my action plan sheet, and I gave you one of these in the PDF handout, and I will make a plan. So I will work it into my daily routine. So I'll write down, I have a planner where I write down my list of things to do every day. So at the start of each day, I'll schedule it in. I'll schedule in my yoga workout. I'll schedule in my 5 minutes or 10 minutes of meditation. And I'll schedule in, what was the other thing I said? Going outside. So I'll have like 9 a.m. do yoga, after dinner, go for a walk outside. And then before bed, do my 10 minutes of meditation. So that's how you start to kind of set goals and create change for yourself from your readings. All right, I'm just going to read some of the comments here. Yeah, okay, so Jesus asks, what should I do if I can't connect with my deck? And there's some good suggestions here about clearing the energy, make it your own, interview your deck. Those are good suggestions, Jennifer. Those are awesome. So if you can't connect with your deck, you can try clearing the energy of your deck by either saging it, burning sage smoke around it. You can place a crystal on top of it overnight. You can put your deck on the windowsill during a full moon. These are all beautiful ways to cleanse your cards. I feel like I connect with my decks by, like what Jennifer suggested, interviewing my deck, spending time looking at each card, journaling about each card. All of those things help me connect with a deck. If after trying some of those things you still don't feel any more connected, you can give up and try another deck. Yeah, okay. So, Diane asks, will this be aired again? I missed part of it. Yeah, you can watch the replay anytime. All right. So let's talk about the 3 major stumbling blocks to reading for yourself. So first, I want to ask you guys a question. What is the number one thing that you struggle with when you are reading tarot for yourself? I think for a lot of people, it is trying to be objective. So the 3 main blocks to reading for yourself, block number 1 is not being objective, which I call reader bias. Block number 2 is being overly emotional or overly invested in the outcome of a reading, which is another form of reader bias. And block number 3 is lack of confidence. So I'm gonna dive into each one of those, and I'm gonna give you some ideas and tips and suggestions for dealing with these blocks. All right. So block number 1 is not being objective. So this is where you maybe see what you want to see in the cards. And I want to say that when you read for yourself, you kind of have to accept that your fears, your desires, your life experiences are all going to influence what you see in the cards. All of those are going to be factored in. So it's impossible to be 100% objective when you're doing a reading. But if you're really worried about this, one really fun technique is to give yourself a reading and pretend that you're reading for someone else. So what I would do here is I would record myself. You can use your phone to record yourself doing a reading. Record yourself doing the reading as if you're reading for another person. You could even imagine like another version of yourself sitting in front of you, and you're doing that reading for them. And then wait a day or two and listen to that reading. And you'll be amazed at some of the insights and stuff that you get from that reading. It's a really fun thing to try, but it will help you be more objective. So block number 2 is being overly emotional or overly invested in the outcome of a reading. So this often happens when you're doing like a relationship reading. So let's say you've just met someone that you're really excited about, and you want to do a reading to see what kind of a potential this relationship has. Now, if you're probably really wanting that reading to be positive. And so in that way, you're biased. You're maybe not open to getting some negative cards and some negative feedback. So how you would deal with this is notice what emotion is coming up for you. Is it fear? Is it hope? Is it excitement? And don't try to suppress that emotion. So don't try to not feel that emotion, because that just makes it bigger and stronger. Instead, imagine that emotion as a separate entity from you. So for example, if I'm doing a relationship reading on my relationship, and let's say I'm feeling fearful about my relationship, and I'm really hoping that the cards are going to have really positive feedback for me. So I would take that feeling of fear and maybe anxiety and just put it next to you. So you're like, this is my feeling, and it's going to be with me. It's sitting next to me. It's part of the reading, but it's not going to be doing the reading. I'm going to be doing the reading. And this feeling of fear or hope or joy or excitedness is here, and it's next to me. And it might chime in from time to time, but ultimately I'm the one doing the reading. And I feel like that is a helpful thing to remember when you are worried about being objective. All right, block number 3. Actually, let me read some of the comments here. Oh, interesting. So, Christopher, you say that you think that when you read for yourself, sometimes going with my gut isn't the best, and you usually read from the narratives that you're already stuck in. Yeah, and when you look at other interpretations of cards, it's better. Okay. Diane's kids threw a wrench into her watching this. That's what kids do. Actually, right before I started this live cast, my cats were driving me insane and they were meowing. And I don't have a door. Like, I don't have a separate office. This is just a little alcove. And I had to lock my cats in my bedroom. All right. Yeah, so Karen, you said your biggest challenge is not liking a card that you overturn. That's a big one. Yeah, when you just don't want that card. Court cards, yep. Court cards are a big nemesis for a lot of readers. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, Misty, you asked, where are the kitty cats? Yep, they're locked in the bedroom. All right. So where was I? Oh yeah, okay. So block number 3, lack of confidence. So this is where you maybe don't trust your intuition, or you feel like you may not be interpreting the cards correctly. So this usually stems from a belief that, an incorrect belief that each tarot card has a specific meaning, and that you as the reader, it's your job to interpret that meaning correctly. So that isn't true at all. So every tarot card has a multitude of possible meanings and ways that it can be interpreted, depending on a bunch of different factors. Depending on who's doing the reading, depending on what question you ask, depending on what area of your life you're reading about, what tarot spread you're using. So the cards aren't these fixed static things. And that's why I always encourage people to not try to memorize each card, because the cards aren't definitions. They're these really complex, multifaceted beings in a sense. So how you would fix this, if you feel like you're not confident when you're doing readings for yourself, if you're worried about, not reading the cards correctly, you want to really change your approach to doing a tarot reading. So instead of seeing the cards as holding all the answers, see them as tools, as doorways into your inner self. So they're there to help you access your own deep inner wisdom, your own ideas, your own creativity, your own strengths. But the card itself doesn't contain the answer. And I feel like when you approach your cards from this spirit of exploration, from this spirit of inquiry and curiosity, it's so much more easier to be confident and objective, because there's no right or wrong way to interpret the cards. And the methods that I kind of walked you through tonight, noticing how you feel, paying attention to color, paying attention to the symbols, what those symbols mean to you, maybe dialoguing with a character on the card. All of these things can actually be done even if you don't really have much knowledge of tarot. So you don't even need to really know the meanings of the cards to do this. And there's no wrong way to do that. So that's what I love about those techniques. So your job as a tarot reader who's doing a reading for yourself, your job isn't to interpret a tarot card correctly, but to explore it thoroughly. So I'll say that again. Your job as a reader, when you're reading for yourself, isn't to interpret the cards correctly. It's to explore that card thoroughly. Now, when you're reading for someone else, that's a different thing. This just applies to when you're reading for yourself. So we're at the end of the lesson. I'm going to open it up for Q&A in a sec here, but I want to repost the handout because I have this really cool PDF. I just posted it. It's a PDF handout. I think it's about 10 pages. And it basically has most of the stuff that we talked about in there, has some exercises, a tarot spread, and lots of good info there. Lots of hours of entertainment. All right. Oh, Misty has an interesting thing here. 75% of us are extroverts, 25% introverts. I wonder if there's a similar percentage in tarot readers. Say intuitive to textbook. Oh, so like 75% textbook, 25% intuitive readers. Yeah, that's interesting. I have a theory about introverts being more drawn to tarot. I'm guessing that most of the people watching this would consider themselves more introverted than extroverted. And I'm just guessing. I don't know if that's a fact, but I've noticed that a lot of the people that tend to be drawn to tarot and kind of exploring the mystical side of things tend to generally be more introverted than extroverted. Yeah, so I'm curious what you guys think. If you consider yourself introvert, extrovert, in the middle somewhere. Yeah. All right. So there's a couple more things I want to mention here. Number one, if you enjoyed this tutorial, if you enjoyed this workshop, you can check out my website, dailytarotgirl.com. I'm going to put a link. I'll post my website in the chat room. And I don't know if most of you have already been to my site or not, but I'll post it. You can check it out. I've got tons of tarot learning resources on there. I've got lots of really fun tarot exercises. I've got deck reviews. I've got endless blog posts about tarot. And there's lots of fun stuff on there. So before we move on to the Q&A, I want to tell you a little bit about my upcoming 4-week course. It's called Reading Tarot for Others. It starts next week. Registration closes on Monday. And before I ramble too much, I'm just going to post the link to that course in the in the chat box here. Just bear with me. I'm just trying to copy and paste. And I have a hard time doing it because I have one of those super annoying laptop mouses. Okay. All right, there we go. I just posted it. All right. So my 4-week course focuses on basically kind of the opposite of what we did here. So reading tarot for another person. Reading tarot for someone else requires a whole different kind of skill set. And it took me a long time to get comfortable reading for other people. I was comfortable reading for myself, long before I was comfortable reading for others. It took me a really long time to get good at it and to be comfortable at it. So my course is 4 weeks long. Each week, you get 4 to 5 new video lessons with worksheets. There's a Facebook group for members of the course. And that's where you can connect with each other. You can practice your reading skills on each other. You can ask me questions. I'm very active in the Facebook group. And each week, I do a live video Q&A. And all materials are fully downloadable. You have lifetime access, so you can go back and revisit the course. There's no time limit to when you have to finish the course. Trying to think if there's anything else. Cost is $197, and there is a payment plan available as well. So it's pretty affordable. And if you're interested, again, I'm just going to post the link. If you're interested, you can check it out. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to ask me. Okay, so now I want to open it up, and I want to thank you for being here and for doing all those fun tarot exercises with me and sharing your results. You guys are a fun group. Okay, so I want to open it up to Q&A. So if you have any questions about tarot, please feel free to ask. And I'm just going to run and check on my cats because I heard a funny sound and I'm worried that one of them might have popped the screen and fallen out of the window. So I'm going to quickly check on my cats and then I'm going to come right back. So in the meantime, post your questions. my cats are okay. No one fell out the window, but I let my girl kitty out of the room, and I think she might wreak havoc on the Q&A session, but we'll see. All right. So Misty asks, what is your second least favorite tarot card? Because I think the Hierophant is the least favorite. Okay, I don't mind the Hierophant. My number one least favorite tarot card is Justice. I don't like that card. And my number two least favorite tarot card is probably the Five of Swords. That's one that I always struggle with. Okay, Sandy asks, what is the best way to learn tarot? The best way to learn tarot is to have fun with your tarot deck, because I think the biggest mistake that tarot beginners make is they make it a chore, and they think, okay, I've got to memorize each meaning. I've got to, read all these books. I have to have a study plan, and that just takes the fun out of it, I think. So the best way to learn tarot is to really engage with your cards. Don't try to memorize them. Spend time looking at your cards. Spend time meditating with them. Spend time journaling about the cards and really engage and interact with them. And I think, not to toot my own horn here, but I think one of the best ways to learn tarot is to check out my website, dailytarotgirl.com, because I have so many fun exercises and things for you to try with your cards that help you make it fun and actually engage and interact with your cards. All right, so Lillian, you say, I have trouble with reading the kings, knights, queens, and page. It's hard to remember them. Yeah, it's hard to remember them because they all kind of look similar to each other. And sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between, say, the King of Swords and the King of Wands, or the Page of Pentacles and the Page of Swords. So I have a whole course on tarot cards on my site, and it's a whole course that focuses on tarot cards. And actually, I've written plenty of blog posts and done videos on this topic. So if you go to my site and type court cards in the search box, you'll find those. But what I want to say is that one thing that really helped me with the court cards is if you understand each suit really well, you'll have an easier time reading the court cards. So think of the 4 suits and think about what each of the 4 suits represents, and really get a sense for each suit and the energy of each suit. And then see the court cards of each suit as being representations of that suit. So let's take the suit of Pentacles, for example. Pentacles are earthly. This is physical, earthly. It's money, the body, food, sex, finances, health. That's kind of what the suit of Pentacles represents. Now, when you have King, Queen, Knight, and Page, the King is the mature masculine representation of that energy. The Queen is the mature feminine representation. The Knight is also masculine, but I would say it's more active. It's like the active, adventurous representation. And then the Page is the young, immature representation, the youthful representation of that suit. And think of the court cards as being like a family, with the mom, dad, the 2 kids. Yeah, so that's just a few little things to go on. Hopefully that helps you. All right. So Mary, you say you think that you're technical phobic and that stops you from moving on to a higher level. I don't know what you mean, because I don't think tarot is technical. When you say technical phobic, I think phobic of like computers and phones and stuff. Maybe you mean something else. All right, Alex asks, what kind of crystals would you recommend for a reading for yourself? That's a good question. I've never really thought about this before. It depends what the goal of the reading is. So if the goal of the reading is to really connect with your heart space and connect with yourself, I would say rose quartz is a beautiful stone for that. If you're more about connecting to the higher realms and connecting to your higher self, amethyst is a lovely stone. If you're working on clearing patterns and starting a new phase or a new project, I would say quartz would be a lovely crystal, because quartz has a lot of clearing properties. Yeah, that's my crystal advice. Izzy, you said you're looking forward to taking your course. Thank you, Izzy. I don't think I knew that you'd signed up. All right. There's a whole bunch of noise happening right now in my neighborhood. At 7 o'clock, all the neighbors go out onto their balconies or their porches and bang on pots and pans and cheer for the nurses and medical staff. And my neighbors are setting off fireworks right now. I don't know if you can hear all the noise. It's really loud to me, but I don't know if my microphone's picking it up. All right, Izzy asks, is your course compatible with the Rider-Waite deck? Yes, my course is compatible with any deck. It doesn't matter what deck that you're using. All right. Okay, so Teresa asks, when is the last day to sign up for the course? The last day is Monday. Technically, I don't shut it down till Tuesday around lunchtime, just because I get the most signups like at the last minute. So I say Monday. Monday is the last day to sign up, but if Tuesday morning, you may still be able to sneak in. Okay, what advice do you have when you pull a card that frustrates? Okay, this is good. So a card that always frustrates me when it comes up is the Justice card. I hate that card for so many reasons. So I'm just trying to think what I do when that happens, how I deal with it. What I usually do with any card, not just cards that frustrate, is I look at the card and I think, okay, what symbol am I drawn to? Basically what I did tonight with you guys when I was walking you through that exercise. So just focus on, instead of focusing on the entire card and what it means, focus on one symbol in the card and see what that symbol is trying to tell you. And another cool thing you can do with cards that frustrate you is you can kind of explore that a little bit. Like, why does this card frustrate me? Like, I'm always like, what is it about Justice that I dislike so much? And I feel like she's so stuffy and uptight. She's cold, she's judgmental. And I know not everyone sees her that way, but I see her that way. And so that can be an interesting exercise in and of itself to kind of explore, what is it that you don't like about this card? What's going on there? Oh, okay. So Cherie says, and I think Cherie, you maybe asked, oh yeah, how to relate one card towards the other. And then you said you're scared to tell the story, or like you're scared to fail and not get it right. Okay. So basically, I think your question is, how do you connect cards together to tell a story? And how do you do that in a way that feels good for you? So what I do is, when I have a bunch of cards laid out in front of me, is I look for repeating patterns and symbols. So I look for similarities in the cards. You can also look at the cards together as like a linear story. So the first card is like the first chapter in a book. The second card is the second chapter, and see how each card kind of unfolds into the next card. In terms of being afraid to fail and get it wrong, I've experienced that as well. And I think that, I guess the more specific you are, the more of a chance is that it's going to be embarrassing. So you can start, what I do when I'm doing a reading for someone, if they're sitting in front of me, I start vague. I start kind of vague and I kind of feel it out. And I think, does this feel right? And if it feels right and if it's making sense to the person, I I see that as permission to go a little bit deeper and to be a little bit more specific. I don't know if that answers your question, but hopefully that helps you a little bit, Cherie. Okay, so next question is, what country am I in? I'm in Canada. Do you think it's acceptable to draw 3 cards and then apply the meaning to the positions that feel right? For example, past, present, future. That's interesting. I usually always choose the spread that I'm going to work with first, and then I draw the cards. But I have actually experimented with drawing 3 cards and then deciding what each position might mean. I think it's acceptable. I prefer to think of the spread first and then draw my cards. That's just me. But you can actually play around with figuring out what spread you're going to use after you draw. So you can think, okay, how would I see these cards if I use this spread? What advice am I getting? And now if I use this other spread, how would that change it? What advice am I getting now? And sometimes looking at the cards through those different lenses is going to be really valuable to you as well. And I know it sounds confusing. It's like, why would you use 2 spreads? But sometimes we get the most interesting insights from doing that. All right. How do you read reversed cards? So I'm a reader who does not read reversed cards. And I want to say it's not because I don't know how. I've experimented with reading reversals, and I just find that it adds a layer of complexity that feels unnecessary to me. And I don't like the way reverse cards look. I don't like looking at images upside down. It just scrambles my brain. I don't like it. So I don't read reversals. But for those who do read reversals, usually there's different ways of reading a reverse card. So some readers like to see it as being like basically the same meaning as it would be upright, but to a lesser extent. Some readers see a reversal as indicating a problem in that area. So for example, the 4 of Swords, which represents quieting the mind and going within and being calm, kind of meditative. If that were reversed, it may represent your peace of mind being disrupted, having an overactive mind. So there's different ways of looking at it. Oh, this is an interesting question from Paul. Do you ever read for people without using cards, like touching them and a card or an image comes to mind? I've never tried that. That's not how I read normally. I took a course in psychic reading, and we tried all different forms of psychic reading. So we did touch, we did, what else did we do? There was touch. We did something with wire rods, like dowsing. We did crystals, we did psychometry, we did all different things. So I've definitely experimented with different ways of reading people and had some success, but tarot is my preferred method. All right. Okay, Alice in Wonderland asks, is it okay to take your course without full knowledge of each card? Yes, it's okay. So my course, I should have mentioned this, I totally forgot. My course, I've labeled it open level, meaning anyone technically could take it. You don't have to be advanced to take it. It's not a beginner course in the sense that I don't walk you through the meaning of each card. It's not like a Tarot 101 where I'm like, this card means this card means that. It's not like an introductory level course. But I created the lessons assuming that the people taking that course would have a general understanding of tarot. You don't have to know what every single card means, but you should have a general knowledge of the cards. You should have a general understanding of how tarot works. You should have at least done a few readings on yourself first. But I don't think total beginners are going to have too much trouble with my course. Yeah, but it's not like an intro 101 type of course. Okay. According to you, which is the most lucky card? There's a few lucky cards. I love the star. I think the star is a lucky card. Of course, the sun is a lucky card. 10 of Cups, I think of that as being a lucky card. Yeah, those are the three I would say. The star, 10 of Cups, the sun. Those are all very, very lucky cards. How many decks do I own? I don't know, Emma. I was going to do a video where I show every single deck I have and talk about each one. I'm just looking at my bookshelf. I have a lot, and I get rid of a lot each year as well. I give a lot of decks away. I have a lot. I don't think I have 100. I don't think I have that many. But I get sent a lot of decks for free from deck creators to review and do videos of. So that's why I have so many, I think. Plus, I love tarot. Okay, what archetype would I describe myself as? A witch, an occultist, a psychic, or dancing? Kate. I don't know. I'm not sure if I would choose any particular archetype. I like the witch archetype out of those four. That's the one I think I would choose. How long have you been reading tarot? I've been reading tarot for over 10 years. I was trying to think about this the other day. It's probably been 12, almost 12 years, I think. 12 or 13 years since I started reading tarot. This is a good question from Alex. How do you react to scary cards like death, the tower, the devil, etc.? Okay, so scary cards. I've come to love the scary cards. So I think that the scary cards are there not to scare us. And I think some of us are scared by them because we think that they're predicting something bad. So if you do a tarot reading with the idea that it's going to predict something and you get death or the devil, of course that's going to scare the crap out of you, right? But I'm not a super predictive reader. So when I read tarot and I get one of those cards, I see those cards, those, negative type cards, as really, they're there to show you how you can be more free. They're there to show you something that needs your attention. So for example, the devil. I love this card because whenever this card comes up, I always see this as indication that the person I'm reading for, or if I'm reading for myself, that I'm finally ready to let go of something that's been keeping me stuck and holding me back. That I'm finally ready to step out of an old destructive pattern, that I'm ready to take a look at that pattern and see how I'm stuck. So I see those scary cards as being, I almost get excited when they come up now. Like when I'm reading for someone else and they get the death card, I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to see the death card because it shows that you're ready for a new transition. You're ready to let go of something big and to open up to something bigger. So I see them as opportunities. I don't know if you guys can hear my cats. They're in the other room whining. They're whining for treats. Okay. How do you work with clients who start with very predictive questions, such as, will my ex come back? Yeah, that's a good question. Okay. So what do I do with clients who start with predictive questions? So what I've started doing, so when I was newer to reading tarot, I would make my clients rephrase their question. And then as I got more experience, I would just rephrase their question in my head into something that was a little bit different. And now I don't do any of that. So now when someone asks me a predictive question, like, will my ex come back? Instead of trying to answer that specific question, I just see that as being an area of concern for that person. So I'm like, okay, this person wants to know, this person is maybe lonely. Maybe they want their ex to come back, and this is kind of something that's on their mind. And so then when I ask the cards the question, I don't ask that question that they pose to me. I ask the cards the question, what message do you have for this person regarding what's going on in their life? And then 9 times out of 10, there will be a satisfactory, I don't want to say an answer to their question, because I usually can't answer those predictive questions anyway, but the information that comes through is going to be helpful for them, and it's going to be what they came to hear. So I won't be able to give a yes or no, yes, he's going to come back, or no, he isn't, but I'll be able to, highlight what they need to be focusing on, how they can attract more love into their life, how they can feel less lonely, all the important stuff that they need to know. And at the end of the reading, maybe I haven't haven't given them a specific answer to their question, but they got what they came for. In fact, they got a better reading than if I were to just say yes or no. Pan, you said you hear a kitty. Yes, you do. Okay, so Star says, I'd like to do a reading, but what are some strong questions to ask oneself? Okay, I've got a blog post that is good for this. Let's see here. Bear with me. I'm just going to bring up my website. So I did a blog post a few years ago now, and it was called 20 Questions to Ask Your Tarot Cards Tonight. And it has all kinds of fun questions. Okay, so I'm going to post it in the chat. Ugh, my stupid mouse. Okay. Copy. Okay, one sec here. Okay. So I just posted that, and that will give you a whole list of fun questions to ask yourself. All right. Misty, you said, or do you mean when will I meet my soulmate? MEAT. And YouTube flagged that comment as inappropriate. So I had to manually approve you. All right. What is your zodiac sign, and do you follow astrology? So my zodiac sign is Virgo, and I loosely follow astrology. I have a few books on astrology that I've read, and it's an area of interest for me. I don't know a lot about it. I don't incorporate astrology into my readings just because I don't know enough about it, but it is something I'm interested in. All right. Oh, good question. So Music 1AC asks, tell us a time when you were wrong about a card or reading. All right. I feel like I have been wrong. Definitely when I've read for myself. Trying to think of a professional reading though where I was like really wrong. The thing is with readings is like when you do a reading, you're reading into the energy of the moment. And that energy can change. That energy shifts. So I remember doing a reading not too long ago. It was a few months ago. And I was doing, I can't even remember what the reading was about. But I got all these really bad cards. I got the devil, I got the tower, I got death. And I took it to mean that this project that I was working on, it was a project that I was working on. I took it to mean that this project was going to be a disaster. And because the reading was so negative, I was kind of like, I don't want to deal with this right now. And I just kind of continued on doing my own thing. And things changed, things shifted. And I went back and looked at that reading recently. I was like, whoa, that's a really horrible reading. And none of that really played out. And I think my mistake was that I was looking at the cards as being predictive, kind of like I said earlier. I was looking at those cards as being predictive. And really, each card was telling me that I had an opportunity. Each card was a challenge. And if I'd seen them as challenges and opportunities, I think the reading would have been more accurate. But instead, I kind of interpreted it as being kind of a doomsday reading. So that was a recent reading I did a few months ago for myself that I was, kind of wrong on. Yeah, I wish I could be more specific, but. All right, let's see, there's a question up here. I'm just gonna read. Someone's recommending that I post my blog posts on my Facebook group more often. Yeah, I should do that. Some of my older posts, I forget. I'm not very good on my Facebook page. I tend to post a whole bunch of stuff, 1 week and then kind of forget about it the next week. I'm not very consistent on Facebook. Okay, do you read differently if you get the sense the person asking is eager to give up agency? Like some of the career questions, what should I pursue, etc. So I find a lot of questions when people come for a reading are those kinds of questions, like what should I do? What should I focus on, etc., etc. Which path should I take? And really, it's not so much that I don't think it's so much that they want to give up agency. I think it's just that they're kind of lost and they're not really sure what to do. And do I read differently if I get that sense? If I do get a strong sense the person wants to give up agency, it always kind of frustrates me a little bit, but I don't think I read any differently, no. The interesting thing about that is that people sometimes claim that they want to give up agency, but they don't. So when I was working I used to be a personal fitness trainer, and every now and then I'd get a client who would say, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Just tell me how to work out. Tell me what I'm supposed to eat. Tell me how often to work out and I'll do it. I don't want to think about it. I just want you to tell me to do it and I'll do it. And 90% of, well, actually 100, well, maybe not 100%, like 95% of the time, you would tell that person, okay, work out 3 times a week, do these workouts, eat this, and they wouldn't do it. They'd maybe do it for like the first couple of days or something like that. So people claim to want to be told what to do, but really, I don't think they want that. I think they are looking for something else. Okay. Oops. Oh, Pan asks, as a witch, how do you use the tarot? I don't really call myself a witch. I just, when you ask me that question, which archetype do you identify with? I identify with the witch archetype for sure. I'm definitely a very witchy woman, but I don't practice. I don't really practice witchcraft. I'm not. What do you call it? What's the word? Wiccan. I'm not Wiccan. I don't practice any, earth-based religion or anything like that. But I identify with a lot of witchy things. Once you ask the tarot a question, how long should we wait to do a follow-up question on the same question? All right. That's a good question. I think it depends. So if I ask a question about my career, say, and I do a reading on that, how long should I wait to do a follow-up question? I think if the question is different, just related, you can do a follow-up question, say the next day. You just don't want to be reading about the same question over and over and over again. Because it can start to be less helpful that way. So I don't think there's any set rule to when you can ask a follow-up question. But I think if you do a reading on a particular topic and it gives you kinds of advice, you want to at least you want to give yourself time to put that advice into practice before revisiting that topic again, I think, ideally. All right. What is your least favorite deck? Oh, I love it. That's a really bitchy question. My least, there's so many decks out there I don't like. One tarot deck that's really popular, a lot of people like, is the Gilded Tarot. I bought that. It was one of my first tarot decks. And there's things I like about that deck, but ultimately I just couldn't connect to because it's like digital art. And I find I have a hard time connecting with digital art. And I sometimes have a hard time connecting with photographic decks as well, digital photographic, and collage decks I sometimes struggle with too. Not always, there are some digital photographic and collage decks that I like, but generally speaking, those styles of art, I have a hard time connecting with them. But the Gilded Tarot is a very popular deck. A lot of people love that deck. And I ended up giving mine away because I couldn't really connect with it. All right. Ooh, what new decks are on my radar right now? Oh, there's a cat tarot. I don't know if it's a new deck, but it's a cat tarot that is definitely on my radar. I have it in my Amazon shopping cart. I tend not to peruse new decks and upcoming decks because it's just a rabbit hole I can this is so interesting. YouTube is holding certain comments for review. Like they're flagging them as inappropriate, but they're not inappropriate. It's really weird. Yeah, so I stay away from looking at new decks just because I have so many decks I don't want to buy anymore. But that cat tarot I might have to buy. Yeah, so Keith, you said you love all Ciro Marchetti. Ciro Marchetti is the artist who did the Gilded Tarot, and he's done other decks as well, and his decks are super popular. And I think that tarot decks are just a matter of taste, really. Everyone has different taste. All right, so most tarot readers are women, or more women than men. How do you see that? I've noticed that actually too when I've taken workshops and courses on like psychic development, mediumship, things like that. There's always way more women than men. And I think that women, and I've noticed too that, and it might just be where I live, because there tends to be an older population where I live, but most of the women in those courses are between the ages of 40 and 60. So they're a little bit older. And I feel like that is like a group of people that, for some reason, women between 40 and 60 tend to be drawn to exploring that kind of stuff. And I think that's interesting. I don't know what I make of it. I've noticed that there is way less men interested in that kind of stuff than women. And I don't know. I guess when it comes to tarot, psychic development, intuition, those are all things that I think in a traditional sense are sort of considered feminine things. even though, men can do them obviously and can be good at them. Yeah, I think they're sort of considered, and I think just more women are drawn to that. Yeah, I'm curious what other people think about that though. How to deal with contradictions during a reading. So tarot is often contradicts itself. So I will be giving someone a reading and I'll say one thing, and then in the next sentence I'll contradict myself, and I find myself doing that a lot. What I do is I acknowledge it and I say, this sounds like a complete contradiction. But when contradicting information comes through in a reading, I always just say it anyway, even if it sounds stupid, even if it sounds like I'm contradicting myself, because sometimes with a contradiction, you need to examine both sides of an issue, and that's why the contradiction is there. I don't know if that made sense or not, but I do notice when I'm reading that contradictions often come up in readings. Okay, I'm just gonna open my blind. I just noticed it was getting a little bit dark. Have you ever thought about learning Lenormand? Yes, I actually have a Lenormand deck, and I plan on learning it, but I have not done it yet. Now would be a good time, actually. Who gives better readings, you or Veronica Noir? Veronica Noir, obviously. So for those of you who are like, who's Veronica Noir? Veronica Noir is my alter ego. And Paul, you must have been following my blog for a long time, because I don't blog about Veronica very much anymore. But she's my alter ego, and I would give readings as this saucy, sexy other woman on my blog. And I had a lot of fun with it. And I'm actually planning on restarting my Veronica Noir blog posts. So stay tuned for that, Paul. Oh yeah, a lot of people love Lenormand. Yeah, a lot of people miss Veronica. I've heard from a lot of people like, bring back Veronica. I am going to bring back Veronica for sure. All right. Oh, interesting. So BSLX says, I tend to just have the person ask the question in their mind and then pull out the cards and read them. Do you do that? I've never done that, actually. And I like that. I like that idea. I've had people like ask to do that. Like I've had some people say, I have a question, but I don't want to say it to you. Is it okay if we just like choose a card and you do the reading without knowing the question? And I've actually done quite a few readings like that. Veronica was a little bitchy. Yeah, she was super bitchy. Do you use the Thoth Tarot? Yes, I do. I have the Thoth Tarot. That was one of the first decks I ever got. And that was one of the decks that I was learning tarot on when I was first learning tarot. So that deck will always have a special place in my heart. I haven't used the Thoth Tarot in a long time. I have a mini deck of it, and I think I would use it more if I had the normal sized version. So that's something on my Amazon wish list that I want to get. Okay. Have I incorporated Oracle decks? Yeah, I used to always incorporate Oracle decks at the end of my reading. So I would do a tarot reading, and then at the very end, I would draw an Oracle card to kind of wrap the reading up. I don't do that very much anymore, but I used to a lot. Keith, you say you have difficulty with the Thoth Tarot. Yeah, the Thoth is a bit different. It's a trickier deck for sure. Yeah. Geez, how many people here know about Veronica? Everyone's commenting. I thought everyone would have forgotten about Veronica because I haven't done any Veronica blog posts in ages. Okay, how much does meditation help for tarot readers? Meditation's great. I think meditation is, for me, meditation, it helps you calm your mind. It helps you focus. But more than anything, it helps me connect with the void. So I think of life as being, there's sort of two parts to it. There's this emptiness, this void, and then everything you see around you is stuff that comes from that void. So maybe void isn't the right word, but it's like there's this background, there's this like quiet, actually it's kind of like what I was saying about the cup symbol. There's like this container, and then there's life and everything that comes out of it. And I think if you focus on the world of form, you can get really stressed out. And we need to remind ourselves to connect back with that void, with the background. And when you connect with that void, that's when you connect with that deeper kind of eternal part of your soul. And so I feel like when I meditate, that's what I'm doing. And when you're doing a tarot reading on a certain level, you're kind of connecting with that background, with that void. And so I think that meditation can be helpful for that. Yeah, so for those of you who are like, who's Veronica? If you go to my website, there's a little search bar at the top of my site. If you type in Veronica, that will bring up all the Veronica posts that I've written, and they're really fun. Jennifer, you're going to go to the website and read about Veronica before class starts. You're going to want to drop out of my class after you read some of the posts. Some of them are a bit racy. Well, thank you, Keith. You said you got fed up with the drama from other tarot channels. Yeah, I don't follow very many tarot channels, so I'm not aware of the drama. So I don't know what's going on there. I find Facebook is where I notice a lot of drama, a lot of tarot drama. I don't know. I feel like the world is dramatic enough. I don't need to add my own drama to the drama of the world. All right. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to answer 2 more questions, and then I'm going to shut things down. Do I have any courses on how to read yes/no answers with the Rider-Waite card? No, I don't. I don't focus on reading yes/no answers. Which tarot spread would I suggest for beginners? I'm kind of impartial to doing 1-card readings. I love 1-card readings. But if you really want to use a spread, I think any 3-card spread is good. Past, present, future is fun. Mind, body, spirit is a fun one. And actually, there's a 3-card spread in the PDF handout that I've given you for this this course. Sorry, my brain's starting to fizzle out here. There's a really fun 3-card spread there too. All right, I'll just do a couple more questions. Music when I say you want a general reading. No, I'm not giving you a reading. My mind is not in the headspace for reading. I just can't. I'm too tired. Yeah, okay. I'm just going to scroll up to see if there's any questions. I know there's a lot of questions I missed. Do you believe intuition is a power? I suppose it is. It's not really a power. It's more like a sense, like smell, sight, taste, sound. I suppose those are powers in a way. It's an ability that we have. And I think intuition is like an ability. I wouldn't really call it a power. But I suppose abilities are also powers in a way. Depends on how you think of it. But yeah, I think of intuition as an ability that we all have the capacity to develop. And just like there's Olympic athletes, and I think no matter how hard I tried, I don't think I could ever be an Olympic athlete. Some of us are more well suited to being psychic and intuitive. So there's always going to be people that are really intuitive and people that, even if, well, let me put it this way. If you try to develop your intuition is going to get stronger. You're going to become more psychic and more intuitive, but you aren't necessarily going to be like a super famous psychic who can do all kinds of things. But we all have the ability, we all have intuition, we all have psychic ability, and we all have the ability to focus on it and hone it and develop it if we want to. Oh, thank you, everyone. Oh, thanks for the nice comments. And thanks for spending so much time with me. I've had fun tonight. Yeah. Okay. So I want to end things by saying thank you so much for being here. I hope you found this workshop helpful, and I hope you go home, or like you're already at home. I hope you do tons of really fun readings for yourself and get lots of insight and wisdom from your readings moving forward. So before I wrap up, I'll just give my upcoming course another shameless plug. So my 4-week course, Reading Tarot for Others, starts next week. Registration closes on Monday. And if you want to check out my course, I'm just going to put the link in the chat box. This mouse is driving me crazy. Okay. Ooh, sunlight's right in my eyes. Okay. So there's my course for anyone who's interested in checking it out. And the sun is like totally blinding me right now. So I'm going to go. So thank you so much for being here. And I'll be doing another live stream probably in a couple weeks or so. So stay tuned. And one more thing I want to say before I go. If you're not on my mailing list and you want to be on my mailing list, I'm going to put the link to that as well while I'm at it, while I'm promoting myself like crazy here. Let me just get the link here. So if you want to be on my mailing list, I'll let you know whenever I post a new blog post, whenever I have a new class that I'm offering. When I do my next live event, I will send out a newsletter, so you'll be the first to know. So I will post that in the chat box if you're interested. I'm not too obnoxious with my emails. I don't send them out too often. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. And until next time, see you later.